Well, hello and welcome. My name is Rich Frazee, and I will be the host and moderator for this ADEIL conference session. Thank you for joining us for our Artificial Intelligence in Education Systems, Ideas for Change. Please join me in welcoming Bill Davis, Dr. Karen Lynn Daniels-Ivy, and Dr. Jorge Cardenas. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Bill.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Davis, and I'm the lead faculty for School of Business, and it's an absolute pleasure here to present with Dr. Karen Ivy and Dr. Jorge Cardenas. Our topic today, artificial intelligence in education. Are you ready for it? I'm going to go ahead and let Karen and Jorge, Dr. Karen and Dr. Jorge introduce themselves. Karen, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning across the globe. I'm Dr. Karen Lynn Daniels-Ivy. I'm located in Parker, Colorado. I am the department chair, Forbes School of Business and Technology over the Technology Studies Department. And I am so happy to be with you today.
Thank you, Karen. Dr. Jorge?
Good morning, everybody. Jorge Cardenas. Have the pleasure of working with Karen and Bill. I'm also a department chair. My department is a professional studies department. Glad to be here and share some knowledge with everybody.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad to team up with Karen and Jorge. We have done some wonderful work through the years and collaborated on a lot of different projects. And this is one of my favorite topics. As we all know, change is here. And as we work every decade, there's something new happening. Every year, there's something new happening. So our goal today is to hopefully stimulate some thinking, help you see the bigger picture, think about your own organizations and what you might want to connect in or suggest and so forth. So hopefully there's some value added here for you today. And that's our goal. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. It's a concept that refers to computing hardware being able to basically think for itself and make decisions based on the data it is fed. In theory, in development of computer systems, it's able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. Our world as we know it is running on artificial intelligence. For example, Siri manages our calendars. Facebook suggests our friends. Computers, they trade our stocks. We have cars that park themselves and air traffic control that's almost fully automated. Virtually every field has benefited from advances in artificial intelligence, and from the military to medicine to manufacturing. Some things you would do for yourself or call someone about or visit a physical location for help can now easily be done by a computer. Think Siri or Google now and Cortana as examples. Other examples, whenever you use a traffic light or a GPS app to navigate your way to a friend's house, artificial intelligence has a hand in the route, and it suggests using an extensive amount of data from smartphones about the speed, the routes, traffic incidents. When you're calling Uber, both the pricing in the car matches your ride. So you can see how artificial intelligence has impacted our lives, and we're going to show you how it's impacted education. Artificial intelligence, or from kindergarten to graduate school, one of the ways key artificial intelligence will impact education through the application of greater levels of individualized learning. Some of this is already happening through growing numbers of adaptive learning programs, games, and software. And in today's COVID-19 times, we think about how we're at home schooling and using technology and tools to educate. Artificial intelligence in the education market by end user industry includes higher education, K through 12, corporate learning. Artificial intelligence has a greater impact on education than it could in almost any other industry, in part because it could power the next generation of education technology. More powerful educational tools will enable the children of the future to receive more personalized lessons and ultimately improve educational outcomes. So, artificial intelligence. It is at the heart of digital disruption across almost every industry. According to the IDC, by 2019, when we've seen this, that 40% of digital transformation initiatives are supported by artificial intelligence capabilities, providing timely, critical insights, richer, immersive user experiences, and driving improved outcomes. The IDC forecast that global artificial intelligence spending will reach 97 million by the year 2023. According to IDC's Artificial Intelligence Global Survey conducted in May of 19, late May of 19, the top 5 business drivers to adopt artificial intelligence in the educational sector include the improvement in efficiency, better student engagement, higher competitiveness, accelerated innovation, and higher funding. So with that said, I am going to turn this over to Dr. Karen.
Thank you so much, Bill. As you mentioned how artificial intelligence is just booming across industries, yes, that does include education. When we think
Karen, are you froze up there? Or I hope everybody's hearing me okay. I think maybe my screen is frozen.
I've been able to hear.
Is my video fine?
Yes, and your video is fine too, yes.
Okay. So as Bill mentioned how artificial intelligence is booming across industries, that definitely does include education. When we think of our students for today and for tomorrow, artificial intelligence is already there and it's growing in the educational industry. So we are all dealing with COVID-19 right now and all the challenges that COVID-19 brings. Just think about this. We know how industries, how schools, how parents, how children had to advance to artificial intelligence as far as moving to remote locations during COVID-19. Just think about this. There are 3 types of systems of artificial intelligence where if we had these in place across the globe, we would have been better off. System 1. How about systems that help teachers, students, and parents navigate the existing digital resources that are freely available on the internet? We know that parents, that students, that teachers had to very quickly become acquainted with these tools. And just think if those were in place, how easier it would have been and still would be for students, for teachers, and parents as well. How about another system? Systems that help teachers give students the right types of tasks based on their knowledge and difficulties in their subjects. This is called personalization, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. That's where we're heading from an educational standpoint, and AI will help us to get there. And then the third system that really would have been great in this COVID environment would have been systems that help students with their homework in different domains. Not replacing teachers and instructors, but definitely assisting with teachers and instructors. And so let's talk about the artificial intelligence transforming the student's experience. So we are already automating grading and other tasks to allow more time to be spent interacting with students. For example, already in some locations, we are anticipating enrollment trends. And this is happening throughout K through 12, throughout secondary education as well. We're using AI for predictions and to predict what percentage of students will enroll per year, per time range, and what types of students will enroll as well. AI helps us with that. How about optimizing recruitment efforts? And so as our recruitment efforts for our schools, K through 12, post-secondary as well, reaches out to individuals from a recruiting standpoint, AI can help with those predictions as well as locations to help the industries to identify who to reach out to from a recruiting standpoint. Predicting learner behavior. AI can help us to predict learners in what they will learn, who has difficulty with what subjects, who excel in what areas, and how K through 12 as well as post-secondary institutions should adjust curriculum, and also automating grades. Not replacing instructors, but wouldn't it be nice if AI tools could be installed right in the school to assist with some of the basic grading directions so that students, instructors could spend more time collaborating in other learning advantages. So AI is tracking student data, mining millions of pieces of student data. AI is helping to transform the student interacting experience. We're going to advance to slide 8, where we're talking about being differentiated and individualized learning. I mentioned the term personalization. Artificial intelligence helps us to get to what we call Classroom 3.0, and that's assuring a more personalized and interactive experience for our students. So technologies like AI, machine learning, we've heard these terms before, and education software, they aren't just there changing the feel for students, they're actually shaking up the role of educators and students and sort of shifting the philosophical shifts and approaches to teaching, as well as remodeling the classroom. And what does it do? It helps a student and instructor to know for you, the student, or your children as students, where do they need that additional touch? Where do they need that additional instruction? AI will assist in personalizing that touch for students. That's called adaptive learning, and it actually takes adaptive learning to the next platform. AI is coming our way in a huge way to help us to enhance that personalization of the learning experience for students. Artificial intelligence helps to get us there. If we can go to the next slide, slide 9. Artificial intelligence as tutors and instructor assistants. If that makes anyone quiver a little bit, robots in the classroom, it's happening already, and it will only help us to excel in our teaching direction. So artificial intelligence can be teaching assistants and can drastically improve the contemporary classroom. And how can this happen? Already in some classrooms across the globe, across the world, AI is there. AI is interfacing with students. And remember that personalization, that personalized teaching approach. Artificial intelligence can assist a student to focus on the subject or subjects where he or she requires additional attention. Artificial intelligence can also help grading, as I mentioned before, assignments as students interface with the artificial intelligence unit in the classroom. So what does this do about the whole teaching environment? Well, how much of a teacher's day is spent answering the same question over and over again? We may see this in K through 12. We can see this in post-secondary as well. AI will be programmed to address those questions, and even per each student, it can be programmed to advance that student to the next level of learning as those questions are answered, and it can interface with the student to make sure they understood that level, and yes, the student's ready to advance to the next level of learning. Artificial intelligence as assistance in the classroom, if it's not in your school, it is coming to you. If we can go to the next slide, where we talk about artificial intelligence, the simulation software, and how that improves higher education. I already talked about how AI is used to help in recruiting and fine-tuning who a university or an institution focus on from a recruiting standpoint. It can help with retention of students as well. Universities and K through 12 organizations can load into the artificial intelligence database what has been successful as far as where they have recruited students, what they have done to retain students, what has been successful, what has not been successful, and what can be programmed as AI helps to predict the percentages of student increases or decreases an institution can experience, but what can be done to help to improve the student's administrative approach, success rate, etc., overall. So using that power of machine learning, big data analytics, we've heard this term before, and really harnessing the artificial intelligence technology helps to expand that scope and the options that universities, K through 12 organizations have in place to fine tune all of the administrative efforts that need to be done. In higher education management, machine learning techniques, big data, artificial intelligence applications can help to incrementally perform simulations and predictions in areas like decentralization, student profiling, collaboration models, planning outsourcing, and much, much more. AI helps us to fine-tune those administrative activities. Let's go to slide 11 and talk about chatbots. We've heard about these before, and more than likely you have experienced using these in your personal life. So a lot of times, a lot of retail stores, when they have their help desk, when you're calling and interfacing with their help environment, or when you're going online to interface with their help environment, in today's environment, a lot of first level touch is actually a chatbot. It's not an individual. Why? Because when an organization, be it educational, be it retail, etc., looks across the board at what types of questions are usually asked by the user, what types of answers have been helpful to take that user to the next level. Let's talk education specifically. What types of questions in my course do students usually answer on this particular assignment? It can really be fine-tuned down to the nth degree to identify what questions are typically asked, what answers have been successful in helping students to learn and advance to the next level, and therefore what should be loaded into the artificial intelligence database and used as a chatbot so that as students have those questions, they can easily, individually ask the questions, get the answer, and advance the student to the next level. So bots, as what we know them in industry, provide support in recruiting new students, assisting existing students, save administrative staff time, 24/7 support. And so no longer is there an issue if students are up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I am, but all instructors may not be administrators as well. It allows an organization to advance to 24/7 support, recruiting international students, and accessibility. This is the difference that will help to support us all. This is AI in the educational institution. If it's not in your institution, speak to your administration to bring it in. It will only advance you to the next level. And so that's AI in education, what we have in some areas and where we need to advance. We're going to turn this over in the next slide to Dr. Jorge Cardenas, who will talk about specifically artificial intelligence in higher education and how we may have perils and we could get over those. Dr. Cardenas.
Thank you. I hope you guys are excited about the possibilities of the use of AI in education. I know I am. I've seen this presentation a number of times, and every time I hear Karen speak, it gets me excited. But as she said, there are some challenges and perils you might need to avoid. So the first one is related to adverse outcomes due to poor quality data. So as many of you know, data varies in quality. It might be old and outdated. Also, it may be focused on or drawn from a subset of the population that might not align with students being targeted. Another possible danger is the developer's decision, since the developers are the ones that shape how insights in the AI system are offered and instructed. Some may provide detailed information on various elements of student learning and behavior that instructors and administrators can act on. Another peril is teachers and staff. They must understand not only the AI benefits, but also their limitations. Schools need to create very clear protocols for what employees should do when the algorithmic evaluations or recommendations do not align well with the professional judgments. They must have clear criteria about when it is appropriate to follow or override computer insights to prevent unfair inconsistencies. The last peril here on this slide is the use of artificial in higher education consists of various legal considerations. So there's always a legal aspect, mostly involving different bodies of privacy and data protection law. Federal student privacy legislation in education is focused on ensuring that institutions, number one, get the consent to disclose personally identifiable information, and two, give students the ability to access their information and challenge what they think is incorrect. Next slide, please. So how to incorporate new AI technology into the classroom. Next slide. In implementing AI, you should ask yourself 6 essential questions that are listed here. The first one is, what functions does the data perform? You can't just see a red, green, or yellow light about students' success and take that as face value. You need to understand what the data is doing. Number 2, what decisions don't we see? There are decisions not just about the computer processing, but also about the categorization and the visualization of that data. Number 3, who controls the content? Is it you, or is it the technology provider? How comfortable are you with that? How comfortable are you with the professors, or how comfortable are the professors with that data manipulation potentially? Number 4, how do we check outcomes in terms of efficacy, in terms of distribution, and in terms of positive and negative outcomes? What does a successful AI integration look like? Again, all questions that you should be asking yourself. The 5th is, what gets lost in datification? So, how do you define datification? It's defined as the transformation of social action into online quantified data that allows for real-time tracking and predictive analysis. Datification may not capture all of the behaviors. So therefore, you should be aware of that. So there's also limitations as to what can be captured from the actual data. Number 6, what and whose interests do we prioritize? For instance, do we prioritize the interest of the person developing the AI system, or do we prioritize the needs of the actual end user and education? A lot of times that is a professor. Next slide, please. So these are a list of other elements that anybody that's implementing AI should consider. Procurement, of course, pay close attention to the technologies and companies that will be applicable to your learning organizations in terms of contractual obligations to provide data about your students. Make sure that if problems arise, you have contracted with a company that will be responsive to your problems. Number 2, training. Make sure that you prepare those who are going to implement and use these tools and train them in the benefits and shortcomings of the tools. Something else to consider is oversight. It's important to put in place a continuous process of examining your AI tools, outcomes, and processes. Look at whether the tools are working, whether they are more effective for particular groups of students, and whether they may be giving better numbers but not better outcomes. This is something that's really difficult, but it is very important because these tools can be quickly outdated. Number 4, policies and principles. It's important to create institutional policies surrounding the implementation of tools that rely on analytics, and also cultivate principles that translate those policies into operational steps and actions. The last consideration is participation. Get students and faculty members' input about their concerns and what they would like to see from these systems. This step, as in other technology integrations, are often overlooked because it is messy and you have to get people together, but it could definitely lead to some, to some better results in the long run. So those are really some of the perils and things to consider when implementing AI. So that does it for the content or of our presentation, and hope you guys are excited about AI in education as I am, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.